Right everyone, it is Finn here and welcome to my AFCON Quarter final prediction video, where today we've got 4 fantastic games to talk about and I'm so excited for it. Not just because out of the 8 remaining teams, South Africa, my home nation, is one of them. I never expected for us to get this far, but you know what? I'll take it, and whether we make it further, I guess you're going to have to watch the rest of the video.
I want it now!
But looking at AFCON as a whole, what a competition this has been. The fact that the top 5 rated African nations in the world haven't even made the quarterfinals shows how exciting and how unpredictable African football can be. And once again, heading into these quarterfinals, I wouldn't be surprised if there were more surprises. But of course, along with my predictions, I would also like for you guys to leave your predictions down below. I mean, I get called mean words every single day because of my predictions, so I'd like it if I wasn't alone in that. But of course, without crying and waffling any longer, jumping into our first quarterfinal, we've got Nigeria versus Angola. Now yes, on paper Nigeria are the stronger team here, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's going to be an easy game for them. Both of these teams heading into this game have won their last 3 games. Looking at Angola, I feel like defensively they can be super strong. They are a very physical team. They obviously got a draw versus Algeria throughout this competition, knocking out a giant in African football. I'm not leaving! So we cannot sleep on Angola. Saying that though, looking at Nigeria, I think defensively they've been a lot more solid than I thought they would be this competition. I mean, I really thought their defense would be as useful as a chocolate teapot. I thought it would just all go away. But at the end of the day, 0.3 goals conceded per 90 minutes, the best in this competition, along with 3 clean sheets. I mean, when you look at the fact that they've got Victor Osimhen, they've got Ademal Lookman and so many other brilliant attackers, you expect their attack to be the shining star of this team. But defensively, they've been super solid. And if they go on to win this competition, I think I owe their defense an apology, to be honest with you.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
But at the end of the day, looking at Nigeria versus Angola as a matchup, this could be tremendously close and it could even go to penalties, to be honest. But once again, looking at Nigeria, in their previous game versus Cameroon, I think they proved a serious point to me that they can do it versus top nations and whether they can kind of deal with the physicality of Angola. I do think they'll be able to, and I think Nigeria, the Super Eagles, will fly high and pick up a 2-1 win and advance to the semi-finals. I feel like their only weak spot is the fact that they've conceded 18.5 fouls per 90 minutes.
Naughty.
And once again, if you do that versus a nation that is going to be ambitious enough to score in those opportunities, once again, you have to be careful, but I think Nigeria will take it. But jumping into our next quarterfinal game, we've got the DRC versus Guinea. Now, I'm tremendously excited for this game because I feel like both teams have definitely exceeded most people's expectations. Looking at the DRC, just knocking out the likes of Egypt, the most successful nation in AFCON history, winning 7 titles. I think DRC has definitely been more promising than I thought they would. I think their front 3 is absolutely exceptional, and I definitely think that they could take Guinea to penalties.
Perfect.
Looking at DRC, they've drawn 4 of their last games. They've gotten 3 1-1 draws. So whether they want to play the long game and take Guinea to penalties and take them down there, I think it's a real possibility that we could see pens here. Saying that, looking at Guinea, I think they've also been more promising than I originally gave them credit for, knocking out the likes of Equatorial Guinea, who had been unbeaten for 18 months. I think we seriously have to give Guinea some credit here.
Our battle will be legendary.
And I mean, they haven't necessarily relied on stars such as Naby Keita or Garassi as a striker. I think as a team, they've been one of the most solid units, and I think one of their biggest strengths is the fact that they haven't relied on individuals. Saying that at the end of the day, both teams do like a draw here and there. They both like to play the long game. Defensively, I could see this being a solid game, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. And in terms of winning penalties, it could genuinely go either way, but I'm going to go for the DRC here. We've got one of our biggest games in the quarterfinals with Marley versus the Ivory Coast. Now, looking at the Ivory Coast, I'm sorry, this is another apology I have to deal out here.
To absolutely nobody.
As they far exceeded my expectations versus Senegal, knocking out the current title holders of the competition. And after that 4-0 loss to Equatorial Guinea, I absolutely wrote their name off, but they have been superb in this competition other than that, in my opinion. I know a lot of people haven't necessarily thought they've played exciting football, but I do think they've gotten the results they've needed to. I do think their midfield strength has definitely carried them through. On the attacking front, now that Sebastian Haller is kind of back in the team, I do feel like they'll have a bit more attacking presence. Defensively is where I am worried. I feel like they've made some really sloppy decisions and they really need to tighten up at the back.
That's what she said.
But once again, I feel like their lesson was learned after that loss to Equatorial Guinea. We saw that versus Senegal, and they could get a serious result versus Marley. Saying that though, as someone who's from a nation that lost 2-0 to Marley in the opening game from South Africa, once again, Marley is a solid team. They've got brilliant individuals, and I really wouldn't be surprised if they somehow snuck out of this one and made it to the semis. I feel like once again, we've got two very solid midfields in this game, and if there is a winner here, there obviously has to be a winner here.
God damn it, Gump! You're a goddamn genius!
It will be decided in the midfield as there is so much quality. Along with that, I think Marley can be super solid defensively. I really don't think they give many other teams opportunities. On the attacking front, I do feel like they have a lot of opportunities. They just don't necessarily capitalize all the time. I feel like this game could be tremendously close, but as Ivory Coast have the backing as the home nation from their supporters, I think they'll be enough to make it through, to be honest with you, and I'm going to go for a very close 2-1 win. You know what? In fact, I think it might even be a lower scoring game than that, and I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Ivory Coast. But of course, jumping into our final quarterfinal of AFCON 2023, we've got my home nation, South Africa versus Cape Verde. Now, of course, I do feel sorry for South Africa, considering I didn't predict them to win versus Morocco.
How dare you!
Which, I mean, who can blame me? This Moroccan national team, just over a year ago, made it to the semi-finals of a World Cup. They are the #1 ranked nation in Africa. So of course I didn't expect us to beat them, especially looking at South Africa losing 2-0 to Rwanda just 2-3 months ago. Looking at Bafana, they have far exceeded my expectations. I mean, Themba Zwane, get him a statue in South Africa.
How's this, Squidward?
It's beautiful!
That man has been an absolute beast, and as a whole, the South African national team didn't look any out of place versus Morocco. They played like a top nation. I feel like in terms of actual team play and team build-up, they did exceptionally well. Their set pieces were absolutely brilliant. We saw some really good defensive heroics. I feel like the penalty we conceded in the late minutes versus Morocco was harsh, but at the end of the day, once again, we didn't end up conceding. South Africa getting 3 clean sheets so far in this tournament. This could be a tremendously close game. Saying that, looking at Cape Verde, they've been absolute giant slayers. Obviously, they've gotten a draw versus Egypt. They beat Ghana earlier on in the competition. They got a 3-0 win versus Mozambique. This Cape Verde team actually really scares me at the moment. I think they are exceptionally good. One cannot sleep on them. I think in terms of teams still in the competition, according to FootMob, not a sponsor, they have the highest rating in the competition. I think Cape Verde is going to be a serious challenge for South Africa. But once again, I feel like I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't go for them, and I am going to give Bafana, my home nation, a 2-1 win, and we could go through to the semi-finals. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for my AFCON 2023 quarterfinal predictions. The fact that we've only got 8 teams remaining, I can't believe how fast this competition's gone by. But of course, I want you guys to leave your predictions down below as well. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. This has been Finn, FYNN. Love and appreciate every single one of you. Cheers. Bye.